Okay, let's look at one more scenario. A parent pledged 50 cents per lap in a walkathon at school. So let's start by identifying our ratio. We have this word per here, so that helps us to separate. We have how much it costs and how many laps. But notice here our columns are in a different order than what is said. So per lap, so for every 1 lap, we raise 50 cents. So therefore, if we take 2 laps, then we raise $1. If we do 3 laps, it's $1.50, and etc. 4 is 2, and 5 is $2.50. So let's go back and think about the process, which is the rule. How are we going from this column to this column? What is happening each time? So we're basically saying that 1 is being, again, this happens to be divided by 2. The rule is not always going to be divide by 2. In these 2 examples, it just happens to be. So 2 divided by 2 equals 1. 3 divided in half is 1.5 or $1.50. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 5 divided by 2 is $2.50. So now we're going to fill in our ordered pairs. So the ordered pairs are just looking at each column and we're putting it in order. So first we're going to look at how many laps, so 1 lap, and then the cost is the second value. So we can say 0.5, half of that, and we put it in parentheses. So we're going to continue 2 to 1, 3, 1.5, 4, 2, and 5, 2.5. And the proper way is to have parentheses and that comma in between because it separates these values. Next, we need to come down here and look at the equation. So we already have the equation in front of us, we just need to interpret it, and this is based on what we've already figured out with our rule. So laps is represented by the letter L, total is represented by the letter T. So how do we go from laps to the total? For every lap, L, we take L and we divide by 2 to give us T, the total cost. Again, we could do L divided by 2 equals T. We could write it as a fraction. So now I'm going to take my ordered pairs and I'm going to make my graph. I need to look at what values I'm working with. So here's my first value, and I actually want to label my coordinate plane. So the first value represents laps. That's going to be the title of my horizontal axis, and then the vertical axis is the cost. So before I get started, I want to think about what scale I'm working with. So I'm looking at my data, and I'm noticing that I have number values that are represented in 1.5. So I'm going to determine that because my smallest value is 1/2, I'm going to make 1 square equal to 1/2. I'm changing the scale. So let's do some labeling. If this is 0, then this is going to be 1/2. This is going to be 1. This is going to be 1.5. This is going to be 2, etc. So the reason I'm changing this is because I have a different size of values that I'm working with. This is going to help me be more accurate with my graphing. And by labeling the bottom here, I can do the same thing on the vertical axis. So this is going to be 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, etc. I can stop there. So let's go back and look at our ordered pair and actually plot them. So my first value is 1. I need to run, which is a horizontal movement first. So I'm going to go over to 1, and I'm going to jump, which is a vertical movement, and I'm going to jump up 1/2. So there's my first point. Second pair, over 2, 1, 2, and up a full value of 1. Third one, I'm going over 3, 1, 2, 3, and then up to 1, and then plus another 1/2, etc. So my next value is 4, 2, and my last value is 5, 2.5. So I've created, again, my points on a different scale. I'm connecting them with my arrow, my line, and I'm drawing my arrow at the end to show that it does continue.